Hi, I'm Bill Rice on behalf of Age Lead Store, and today, in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about why working age leads might be actually better than buying real-time leads. So, first and foremost, when we talk about age leads, what we're talking about could be a variety of things to you. It could be just aged data, leads, past prospects that were either unresponsive, didn't necessarily fit for a variety of reasons, have been sort of dispositioned in your CRM in such a way that they're just left alone, right? They're just aging there and they haven't been contacted for a while. The other alternative to that is there is definitely a market for age leads where lead providers are selling kind of like a secondary market where you can go to an age lead broker and you can actually buy internet leads that have aged. So they weren't able to be matched, and these folks, and we've got some videos on like what are age leads, but basically they're internet leads. They haven't necessarily been matched in an optimal way for the consumer, and as a result, there is some opportunity to still reach out to those folks. That's the other alternative. So again, we're talking about sort of that age lead paradigm versus the real-time lead paradigm. And real-time leads are just that. They're internet leads that have the consumer has just inquired on an internet site or a website and filled out a form, and then that form is distributed and matched to you based on your filters, right? So that's what we're going to compare and contrast, right? An aged lead, which has some value and some price point, and a real-time lead that has some value and some price point. So the interesting part about that is depending on how robust your sales process is, there's a very good chance that you can almost get the same level of performance out of an aged lead. And at the very least, even if the performance isn't exactly the same, right? If you have a robust sales process, you can definitely get a radically different ROI. And there's a video, you can kind of take a look at it. I'll link to it in the description, where I actually sort of walk through the ROI of these two and compare and contrast. But today, I just want to get you introduced to the concept of why aged leads probably should be a component just for that ROI value, right? So let's talk about the 3 points that make aged leads potentially a better value than real-time internet leads. Again, this assumes a robust sales process, a robust follow-up process, probably some sales automation. But given that, right, there are 3 really key points. So first and foremost is just the cost efficiency, right? So an aged lead typically, well, I won't say typically, but absolutely always is less expensive than a real-time lead. So just from a comparison, if you've not necessarily shopped around for these two things, an aged lead goes generally for anywhere from $1 to $2 a lead. Depending on the age of it and depending on what maybe the provider is doing to additionally enhance. A lot of times there's some appending, there's some cleansing, some data cleansing and verification, those sorts of things. So a premium age lead will probably have some additional data work done to it, or appending and cleansing and those sorts of things to make that record really viable and strong. And so that's anywhere from $1 to $2. So that's pretty cheap, right? You can get 1,000 of those for $1,000, and assuming somewhere between, let's say, a 2 and a 3% conversion rate, that's quite a few deals, right? And of course that'll vary a little bit by your process and your sales industry, but it's nice to work in some real numbers that I've seen. Real-time leads, real-time leads, those are going to go for anywhere from again, depending on what it is, right, and how they're generated, generally a real-time internet lead will go somewhere between $50, $75, sometimes even $100 a lead. And then, of course, even more if you're getting like a live transfer or a phone call or something like that. So that's the economics. You can just see right there, easily that real-time lead is going to be 50 to 100 times more expensive than that aged lead. So right there, just from a cost efficiency standpoint, gives you a real big variability, and lowers the bar to getting a positive ROI very aggressively, right? So that's the first thing, is just that basic cost efficiency. The other thing that's kind of a nuance of this, but worse. Well, actually, I'm gonna talk about that in the third point. So we'll leave that for a second. Let's go into the second point. So the second point is, there is also less competition, right? I won't even say typically here. There's definitely less competition on those aged leads. So whether they're sitting in your CRM or you're actually buying them, the competition for that lead has left, right? So that consumer is not being contacted anymore, right? For a variety of reasons, right? They put in their inquiry. They had it was a real time lead. So age leads that you purchase are a real time lead at some point, right? The age leads in your CRM. This kind of depends between B2C and B2B. There's a little bit of difference, but generally in a B2C context, that at some point was an inbound real-time lead, and so now it's been left alone for however long it's been sitting in your CRM. So there is no competition generally on an aged lead. One question that I often get when we're talking about aged leads is like, oh, but how many times is it sold? So ideally, there is some constraint to that, right? Just out of deference to the consumer, that probably should only be sold so many times. But it's kind of irrelevant to the amount of competition and the convertibility of that lead, because guess what? Every single one of these consumers sit inside of these large consumer databases that are publicly available. So if you get an age lead, you could find that consumer's record, and you could buy it for pennies on the dollar from a consumer data provider that has all of their contact information, right? Has their name, has their email, has their phone number. So the availability of the consumer data is 100%. It's out there, right? It's available. And so in essence, those consumer databases are sold over and over and over again to a variety of different companies who are just buying people that meet their profile, right? Regardless of their intent. The difference with an age lead is that consumer has actually made some intent, right? They've actually said, I'm interested in the product that you're selling. So the difference is, that consumer data you can get from anywhere, right? You can even probably buy it even cheaper than an aged lead. But if you buy an aged lead, you know that consumer has shown some intent. So that sort of raises the value of that. But it doesn't necessarily raise the competition, right? Because again, if that lead is sold 100 times, well, it's already been sold thousands of times in the context of consumer data. So that's really less of a factor than the fact that the chances of that consumer hitting somebody else's profile when they're buying that age data is really low. So anyway, that's kind of a little bit of a long aside on competition, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how many times the lead is sold, right? It just matters that there's age, and therefore most people are no longer contacting that particular consumer, right? And it's not being pushed out to a bunch of different service providers, right? So in essence, that is going to be sort of a great lead because there's no competition on it anymore, right? So, and the consumer is most likely still interested in that product, even if they've been helped. There's probably some interest around, hey, they're a homeowner or whatever. Maybe they're now interested in the HELOC, or maybe now they need to refinance because they were purchased. So anyway, don't want to drift off on that too much, but the competition is really not a factor in age leads. However, on real-time leads, there's absolutely competition, right? Even if somebody's selling you an exclusive real-time leads, you can bet your bottom dollar that consumer is shopping the internet. It's so easy. They're putting their information into multiple sites because they're eager to get a competitive quote for whatever they're looking for. So even if it's an exclusive lead, even if that service provider has only delivered that lead to one person, in their context, that consumer has created multiple of their leads, and therefore they're going to get contacted. So regardless, a real-time lead where people, that intent is like right now, there is going to be competition on there, even if it's an exclusive lead, because the consumer is going to create competition on their own, right? So whether it's sold 5 times or whether it's sold just once, that consumer is going to create competition. So you can bet that when you call that real-time lead, there's going to be competition. They're already talking to some other people. They're comparing quotes. They're in a shopping mode. So there's some kind of, again, benefit to the age lead where they're no longer in that shopping mode. There's no longer competition on that. Third and final point is just improving your sales technique, right? By virtue of the cost efficiency of buying an age lead, you can get so many more at-bats. And that's going to give you an opportunity to hone your sales technique, to practice, to try different things, to have less anxiety about losing a deal or not making contact on a lead. So it's gonna fill that pipeline much faster because you have lots of opportunities to work and you're getting a lot of practice. You're getting to hone and optimize at scale and with a significant, enough data significance to actually draw some conclusions about your sales process. So there's some great advantages to just improving your sales technique with age leads. Whereas real-time leads, every one of those is really expensive. You're going to feel, really high anxiety, either personally or from your sales director to sort of close every one of those and right. So that mindset of sort of scarcity is probably going to impact in a negative way your sales technique. So if you're training salespeople or you're just trying to build up your own pipeline and your own process, definitely suggest the age lead route because you can just get so many more opportunities and at-bats. But at the same time, you're not just calling in the wind, right? There's some intent to that. So now that you know sort of the benefits of working age lead, definitely encourage you to check out ageleadstore.com. There's a ton of sales resources there and videos like this, but also gives you an opportunity to actually buy some age leads and do that in real time, 24/7. Download those and get started today. So encourage you to subscribe, hit that notification button, and we'll see you on the next video.